Don't tell no lie about me, and I won't tell truths about you.
What's good, y'all? So I know this is not typically something that we do on the Making the Walk channel, but as far as I'm concerned, what's going on with Drake and Kendrick is a fight. It's a fight. It's a matchup. And that's what we talk about on this channel is matchups and combat and, you know, people having adversarial situations. So we're going to talk about it. That's what we're going to do. So I brought on some of my best friends in the world. I don't know how it's showing to you guys, but I'm going to go from in a little circle here. So I got my boy Steve Rogers, photographer extraordinaire, aka Captain America, probably my longest friend. I've been friends with him for forever, since the 80s. So
damn, dude.
Yeah, no, for real. It's been a long time.
The 1900s.
And then we got Wiley Love. I've been friends with him since probably the early 90s. So we've been friends for forever. One of my go-tos when I have a situation that I need to talk through. So that's my boy Wiley. And last but definitely not least, y'all can't see her now because she's bonded it up. So she's not gonna reveal herself.
She wasn't gonna slide.
She's gonna show a little picture with a circle. She does look like that, by the way. I got my girl Danny, my sis Danielle, for those government wise. But yeah, these are the homies, and we're gonna talk about this Kendrick and Drake thing. So first off, just the overall question, and we can kind of spin around the block on this. But like, when this first thing popped up with first person shooter, I mean, obviously there's been sneak disses, you know, along the way, but I feel like first person shooter, like, I mean, at least to me, it felt like they kind of threw it down. Like J. Cole and Drake were like, hey, like, this is about to be a thing right now. Like, what did y'all think when first person shooter came out, or did you think anything? Steve, what do you think?
For me, I didn't think much of it. I thought it was cool. I didn't really think that Kendrick was gonna come back. I just thought he was gonna, like, you know, brush it off his shoulders and keep it moving. But it was like, it was a simple little jab to me, and I was like, okay, what's gonna happen now? I was curious, but I didn't put much thought into it. So, but you know, as you can see, what came of it. I don't think anybody knew that it would blow up the way that it did. Right?
Yeah.
What about you?
I mean, for me, like, when it first came out, like, I thought it was odd to see them two working together, like J. Cole and Drake, just in the first place. But when I did, I saw, okay, it's a little competition. Everything that they showed in the video was like them competing, like the whole ping pong thing where they're going back and forth. Okay, y'all are competing. That's cool. You know, where's Kendrick's place in this was all that I was thinking. And how's Kendrick going to feel about this? Or is he just going to ignore it? Like, you know, are they going to really shoot some really aimed shots at him, you know, during this conversation? Or is it just more of what J. Cole did before, where he was just talking about, you know, he's the greatest. He feels like he's the best. And that's not really adversarial. That's just emitting confidence. And so I didn't know where they were going to go with that, or how Kendrick was going to feel. But I did think that whatever Kendrick did next, whether it was responding or not responding, that was going to dictate how this was going to go. That's kind of how I felt about it. But, what do you think?
I kind of side with Steve on this one. I didn't really think it was an issue. I just thought it was a featured track, and now that we got a response, or at least the response was in verse, was definitely in response to that song from Like That. I think that Kendrick took exception to them teaming up on a song when you have so much built up. There's a couple things. So this was building, let's call it 10 years ago, probably longer, but let's call it 10 years ago they were building this. And when Big Sean had control and Kendrick was on the verse, he addressed the industry much like Eminem did, which is, if I'm not the best, I'm one of the best. So I'm calling all y'all out. And he, in verse, he was like, I'm friendly with it. This is friendly competition. Y'all my bros, but we got to step it up. We got to do better than we were doing now. But no one really addressed that or addressed him then. So to First Person Shooter comes out, you've got J. Cole and Drake on a track together, and then J. Cole kind of throws it out there like, we're the best, but both of y'all been sneak dissing Kendrick for at least 10 years at this point. So I definitely can understand from an ego standpoint or just an adversarial standpoint, like, no, it's not the big three, it's big me. Like, y'all clicked up. I don't have to do that with y'all. So that's kind of where I took it. I didn't see it coming, but when it did come, I was like, oh, okay. So
And Danny, what were your thoughts on First Person Shooter when it came out?
Well, I mean, at first first of all, before then, I was really shocked that Cole and Drake linked up. I didn't see that as a like a duo per se, but Cole did say before, he was going to release his so-called final album, The Fall Off, that he was going to do like more features and stuff like that. So I just thought, it was just, a part of what he wanted to do before he, quote unquote retired. I didn't even really listen to that song, First Person Shooter, at first, because I can listen to Drake, but I can't, for me to say that I'm a fan is no, but I am a huge Cole fan. And when I heard it, when he was talking about the big three, honestly, I didn't see like how it was something that would start a beef, honestly. Because I think about when Cole came out, what was the album that he had where him and Kendrick are on it? I forgot
you're
that
talking about the Forbidden Fruit, that song?
Yes.
Yeah.
So in my mind, I'm thinking like they cool because I don't know if this was hearsay or not, but like weren't they supposed to like do an album together?
No, they
Or
were.
something.
They were supposed to put an album together.
Yeah. So when this all came, I'm like, oh my, like I'm shocked. But for him to go at Drake, I mean, that's fine. I feel like Drake is fair game. Cole, not so much, because I'm a huge Cole fan, but I'm also a huge Kendrick fan, and I like that they can coexist because their artistry is different, but it's needed, if that makes sense. So when the beef started, I was like, oh my, I couldn't even believe it. But then I was excited because I thought Cole was about to put out some more music, and I'm always ready to hear more music from him and Kendrick. So from my perspective, I mean, I've been enjoying it because of the artistry of both of them. Drake, he's popular, Drake is a good time for me. If I'm going out and I feel like I want to be in that type of space, then he's perfect. But for everyday listening, it's going to be either Cole or Kendrick for me.
If I could piggyback off of Danielle, like I kind of feel that I remember, all of us back in like 2009, 2010, listening to Comeback Season and being excited about Drake and what he brought to hip hop then.
That's true.
But then when you fast forward to call it like 2012 through, I guess, 14, after I think it was Views maybe, he turned a corner to me that is kind of exhibited with what Kendrick is doing now. To me, he became inauthentic. I'm not saying I still didn't jam certain songs, because there's a couple songs with him and 21 Savage that I like on that album. And I like a couple of songs on, and absolutely a couple of features. I'm not going to high side and say I'm not a Drake fan. Like, I'm an earlier fan of his versus later Drake fan.
Same. Yeah.
So I thought it would be healthy competition. I thought it would. I'm excited for the lyricism that potentially could come from this. And obviously, this is before J. Cole backed out. So,
Right.
Yeah, and I have questions about that. Hey, exciting news. I'm thrilled to announce our partnership with BetStamp and Sign Up Expert. And it's opening an incredible opportunity for you to join some of our favorite sportsbooks to get the best odds on the internet. With the summer slate of UFC and Bellator and PFL events coming up, there's no better time to jump in than right now to get some of the best deals they got going. So head over to our dedicated page at signupexpert.com/makingthewalk to explore the selection of sports books tailored to your region, each with unique offerings and deals. And I stress deals. So if you're ready to take your sports betting to the next level and show some love for Making the Walk, I highly recommend jumping on this opportunity right now. The link's down in the description. So anyway, back to what I was saying. But before we get to that, so March 22nd, Kendrick drops, well, he's part of the Like That song, where it's interesting because when I listened to it, I did not recognize that he was on the song until he popped on the song. And I was like, whoa, is that Kendrick? And he went in, and this is what, 6 months after First Person Shooter came out, 5 or 6 months. And so I was like, okay, so he's salty about this. He is mad about this. And he obviously went on there with people who also have a poor relationship, for lack of better words, with Aubrey Graham. And he proceeded to let them know, like, hey, look, this is a fight now. This is what y'all wanted.
Yep.
This is what y'all about to get. I don't know if this is what y'all want, but this is what you're about to get. And leaving that song, I didn't think that there was really going to be a response, to be honest. Not that I thought that Kendrick shut it down, but I felt like because of where we are in hip hop, I was like, they're not coming back after that.
Yeah.
See, I immediately felt like there was going to be a response, but it was what we got immediately, which was J. Cole. I felt like J. Cole has the most invested in that relationship with Kendrick, I think, even though, Kendrick and Drake have that one song together. But, Cole has produced for Kendrick. Like, at one point, he was toying around with signing him, the joint album. And then you go back into the sneak dissing for years and years on several different songs. So I felt like we were going to get a lot more from J. Cole. But that verse, I think he just kind of brushed J. Cole out of the way and immediately just kind of set in on Drake, though.
Yeah.
So it was only natural that we got what we got from where we're at now, I guess.
Yeah, definitely feel that. I don't know, when 7 Minute Drill came out, I listened to it and it definitely sounded like more of a traditional, it's a diss, but it's not a personal diss. This is competition.
Right. Yeah.
We're going to compete, and that's the way he framed it. And it felt like it was going to go that way. And like when it came out, like it was a good song, he did his thing, but it's not a scathing like type of diss record that we ended up going with later on, where people are like, oh my God, I can't believe he said that, So it was a different sort of thing. And I feel like, and I want to get y'all's opinion on this one, is do you think less of J. Cole for dropping out of this?
I don't think less of him, but also I feel like the internets were saying that Cole dropped out because he heard, or word got back to his team, that this could become nuclear. And I think he really didn't want any parts of that, not because he was a punk, but more so because I think he, like you were saying earlier, I think he was trying to keep that relationship that he has with Kendrick. Because I think that there could still be a lot of great music that comes from combinations from them or collabs, whether one's producing for one or the other. I don't necessarily think that he punked out. I really just think that he made a business decision and was saying, I don't want to be a part of this, for either for friendship or because he knew that Kendrick had something in the tank and it was coming.
Yeah, Kendrick clearly has a lot in the tank. Danny, what did you think? I mean, I know you're a J. Cole fan. I'm a J. Cole fan, but what did you think when you saw him sitting on that stage saying, I got my chin out, take your best shot, I'm sorry, all those things?
At first, I was actually kind of shocked because he did do, you know, the 7-minute drill, and I was ready for more. But when he did it, I think this is like a good comparison in how the culture of hip hop is changing. I think a lot of artists who have, I don't know, I guess you could say have been around a while, or maybe a certain age, or just a certain, like, how they think. I think that they are looking at things from a total different lens. You know, like, had this been in the 90s, like, we all know what rap beats looked like in the 90s. So it was going to go down. But I think for him, I think that I think it just shows growth. I know a lot of people don't like to hear that, though, because in their mind, you know, oh man, it's just rap beef, whatever. But you know, history has proven, you know, that rap beef is not just rap beef, and it could get to that. Did I think it was going to get to that? Nah, not with them. I can't say that I see that, but I do respect his decision. And I don't have, like, to Steve's point, I don't think it has anything to do with him like punking out or anything like that. I think it just has more to do with what he wants his platform to represent. You know what I'm saying?
I think you said it perfectly. This is a very adult way. You know what? I respect your decision.
Yeah. I feel like that too. I mean, I give him respect because, like, now look, like, Kendrick is just on a roll. I mean, he's just like, you can't stop him. Yeah. And I wouldn't want to be in the middle of that either, because the way that he's coming at him is just, it's crossing so many lines. Like, Kendrick has literally delivered tracks that are serious. Like, this last one is hilarious. I mean, it's like, it's everything. And I don't even think, like, when I think of like Tupac and Biggie's beef, there was no hilarity. There was no funny. There was no. There was no.
You know what? That. You know what? You're right. It was straight punches at that point.
It sure was.
Yeah.
Not punches. It was bullets. I mean, these Negroes was like coming for blood. But like with this, it's like some tracks you hear Kendrick and you're like, oh damn, he said that. And then some tracks it's just like, I cannot stop laughing. And it just, you know, he just goes there. So I think for Cole, now looking at it, I think it's a wise decision that he made. I think he wants to focus on, you know, he's got his plan of things that he wants to focus on, and maybe he just felt like this was going to take him off his focus. And I think that's fair, you know, because, you know, at the end of the day, he's got to think about the things that he wants to put out when it comes to his music.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting, just on Cole for a second, out of those three, and me and Carmen were talking about this just the other day. I think that J. Cole is the most well-rounded artist out of the three.
Disagree.
And when I say well-rounded, I mean, if you put, and when I'm talking about art, I'm only talking about music, because I think that Kendrick is an amazing actor, actually. But pushing acting to the side for a second, I think that the fact that J. Cole is a person that you can put in the studio alone, and he can come out with the production, with the engineering,
Okay.
He can write the verse. He can sing on the verse. He can do all of that.
Then I agree. I agree with that.
That makes sense.
Yeah. As far as like well-roundedness. But that being said, I think that I do think that he was wise to get out of it, because he knew where this was going to go, and he just didn't want to go there. He didn't want to bring his family into it, because he knew families are going to be brought into it, and if you want to be in this, like we're fighting. The gloves are actually off. You know, this is bare knuckle blood sport. That's what we're doing right now. So he was wise to get out of it. But I got another question for y'all. How much credit do you give Kendrick for theoretically throwing the first punch? Even though I think that J. Cole and Drake did their thing, like I feel like Kendrick was the one that threw the real first punch with like that. Unless y'all disagree.
No, I agree with that, because I don't think first person shooter was meant to be. I don't think it was meant to spark anything. I think it was literally just a track. It was, hey, we're going to do a track together. We can mesh. I know I'm trying to put out an album. You just put out, your solo album. You're just coming, or speaking of Drake, coming off his album with 21 Savage. So we're putting out music. That's what I felt. And I felt there is synergy with them. But because of all the past stuff, Kendrick came out swinging, because like you said earlier, I do think he felt salty about it because of all of the things that came before this. So I from his perspective, if we're looking at it from a fight perspective, like, you goaded me to this point. Y'all didn't want to step in the square with me, so I'm going to make you. You're dancing around everything when you could have come to me directly. We could have gotten on tracks together and squashed everything behind the scenes. We could have gone, at each other on track before this. But y'all ducked me. So now y'all put out a song together and you reference us all being at the top of the craft. Yeah, no, I'm not feeling that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I agree, because I don't see first person shooter as like the thing that jumped off. I think it's one of those situations where if you're around people that you're somewhat cool with and they kind of like hit you with things and you've not been okay with it, but you're like, I'm gonna give you a pass.
Right.
And then they just say something and you're tired of giving them passes and you're just like, I'm going after it. And I feel like that's really how it was.
Yep.
Because when he said it, when Kendrick said it and like that, I was just like, okay, yeah, he's upset. So he's upset. So yeah, it's about to go. But I respect how he's approaching it. I think that there was a video that surfaced on Instagram where it was an old conversation about how Lil Wayne had told Drake that when he was beginning to like really be popular, that he didn't have to talk about the same things that Lil Wayne talked about. Like he could be authentic in his own lane. And so saying that really made me appreciate, and I feel like this is why a lot of people are Team Kendrick, is because Kendrick is approaching this like authentically himself. Like we know he loves the theater and how much he brings that into his music and how like he switches it up, and it's just like it just goes and proves how he really views himself so highly because he's doing it according to how he does it.
Yeah.
And so I think that speaks volumes too of what's going on as well, like an artist really being themselves. And I think a lot of people are kind of tired of the usual stuff. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say I don't listen to Drake, because I do. But when it comes to like being, respectful of someone's craft, Kendrick and Cole, they stand very high on the totem pole for me.
Yeah.
I agree with you, Danielle, but I think that's part of it too and it's evidence with kind of their responses, like, because I'm a fan of Kendrick to the standpoint, like I've listened to Mr. Morale and the Hot Steppers, like that album was in heavy rotation for me, like the summer that it dropped.
Yeah.
For a bunch of different reasons. And
Right.
then I was able to go to the show when they came to Dallas.
Yeah.
And to see all of that is one thing. But then to see Cole and Drake kind of shit on that album, to me as a fan, it says they didn't understand what he was trying to do with that album. And I'm saying that in that all of their music has its place.
Yeah.
But to say that one person doesn't fit, which is, I'm not saying any of us, I'm saying them. Like,
Yeah.
you know, hey, look, you know, you came out with this album and it wasn't really popping, bro. Like, you're not relevant. You know, you're not putting out music. Like, you don't really fit. I thought that was unfair. I think that's more so what kind of lit a fire too.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely agreed. So spinning it forward, so April 13th is when Drake drops Push-Ups. Well, it gets leaked and makes the rounds, and then he eventually has to throw it out there. So when Drake came out with Push-Ups, I ain't gonna lie to you, I was impressed. Now, mind you, he does have a pretty good history of being in rap briefs, some that he's lost. You know, Pusha T demoralized him, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, for
And
sure.
then he did the very same thing to Meek Mill. Like, Meek Mill lost the hell out of that rap beef. That was awful.
Correct.
So he has history in beefs, and he seems to be very comfortable. And in Push-Ups, he definitely seemed very comfortable and playful to a point, and he really showed like he's built for this, or at least he thinks he's built for what Kendrick was going to throw at him. I was very impressed by Push-Ups from Drake. I mean, I knew that he's a lyricist. He's very good. He's very, very good. But I was still impressed by what he did. What did y'all think when Push-Ups came out? Steve, what you think?
I'll say this. I was slightly impressed with Push-Ups, but I will say that Push-Ups was one of this entire series that I really just didn't listen to that many times. I thought it was cool. I thought it was cute.
That's a good word. It was cute. Yeah.
Cute. And being that it was cute, it didn't hold my attention to where I was like, hold on. I wasn't picking it apart like I've been doing some of the other songs. I was like, oh, okay. There's this, there's that. He came with it. I say he came with it, and I was like, okay. But I listened to it one, maybe two times, and I was done with it, and I was ready to see what Kendrick was going to bring back. I was like I said, it didn't do much for me as some of his other songs have done, you know, in this series.
Yeah, Wiley, what did you think about it?
I think he pulled a Drake. He put out a song and he used his influence. I'm Drake. I'm gonna make a popular song. I'm gonna make it catchy, and people are gonna listen to it. And he made a song for the popular vote. Is what I felt. Like I wasn't impressed by the track at all. It's just par for course for Drake that we've gotten over the last 5 years. Like it's just it's gonna be catchy. It's gonna be on the radio. People are gonna listen to it, and his fans are gonna support it. But I don't think it did anything to push forward anything for this beef or hip hop in itself.
Danny, what you think?
I pretty much think the same. I mean, it was okay. It was kind of catchy, but I mean, Drake puts out catchy music, so
Exactly.
it's kind of hard. Like when you think about like, when I think of like a rap beef, and maybe this is just me talking from like our generation, I'm expecting like something more. Like I think there's like your category of music that you put out, and then I think like when you're doing stuff like that's another category. So I'm expecting something more. I almost kind of hate to say it, but it's the truth. I'm expecting something more vicious. Like from a lyrical standpoint, you know, I'm expecting to hear something that I probably would not normally hear. Like if you had a single or an album that dropped today, I would expect something more. So it was okay.
Well, see, I'll add to that. His beef with Meek Mill, I felt like Meek Mill's a lesser lyricist. But at the time, like Drake was Drake, he was still the machine that Drake is, but it's still the R&B rapper scenario. So people didn't really give him like, oh, why is Drake beefing with Meek Mill? Like this is not a real beef. But then when he comes out back to back to back with tracks, and not to, excuse the pun, but literally when back to back drops and he has the 3 different tracks and they're playing in the club, like that's something that we hadn't seen. Like Hit 'Em Up plays in the club, but it's just because of who Pac was, but that was a visceral track to what Danny's saying. Like I don't think that any of those other tracks, at the time were feel good songs, but they had teeth for Drake.
Yeah.
Now his beef with Pusha T, I felt like he's a lesser lyricist than Pusha T, or at least on par, but a better artist. And I think that didn't really go where I wanted it to go hip hop wise. Yeah. But Drake comes out on top, so I think he's kind of feeling himself in this beef. So he puts out, his first diss track, and he's just basically trying to get the rah-rah in the club, because that's the same kind of momentum he had with the other 2 beefs.
Yeah. He used the same blueprint. At least he thought that was going to work. But obviously, it's a different animal that he's dealing with. Now, a couple of things that he mentioned in push-ups that I think started other things was, one, he mentioned Kendrick collaborating with Taylor Swift and Maroon 5 and things like that, as far as like pop type stuff. And then he also mentioned Wingstop's own Rick Ross in it, which heard Rick Ross to come out with Champagne Moment.
I heard that
a couple of days later. So, which he talks about, the BBL stuff, the cosmetic surgeries.
Is that true?
Yes. No, I don't think that part. He had his nose done. I don't know if it was surgery. The little bit of research and me asking Davina about it, I think he just had fillers for his nose, but he did have like his abs done. So
yeah. He did.
That's the best song of this whole thing, dude. That video is hilarious.
That's a hilarious song, man. That's a hilarious song. Okay,
that is right up our alley too.
It really is.
It is.
So after Ross does the Champagne Moments, then a couple of days later is when Drake drops the Tailor-Made freestyle, which I feel like he stepped it up a little bit on the Tailor-Made freestyle. Like I think he felt like he needed to get a little bit more vicious, and of course going with the back-to-back theme, he drops these before Kendrick can respond, and everybody that I saw on social media, different places, were talking about, okay, Kendrick, like you got to respond now. Like now's the time, because at that point in time, I feel like most people thought Drake was up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't, but
I mean, but I have a question. How is he gonna shade Kendrick for doing pop stuff when he does pop stuff?
Things pop stuff.
I mean, like seriously, because Drake is widely accepted because he leans more towards that genre, and it's easy for someone like a pop artist, I guess you could say, to put him or collab with him because he's liked. He's a likable artist.
Right.
So for why would he go after Kendrick for doing? I mean, I don't. I guess that's one thing I don't get.
I really think that his intention was to use his fan base as opposed to using his lyricism to come back at Drake. Come back at Kendrick. Drake is commercial. Drake is pop music by definition. He is that. I don't know what you call it. There's the Beehive, there's the Breezy. I don't know what the Drakes are, but he wanted his fan base to fight for him. And I think that's why he made the popish songs like what we were just talking about, not Taylor Made. Yeah, Taylor Made. But he believes that his audience is bigger than Kendrick's. He has a more worldwide pull than what Kendrick might have. So I guess he assumed that having the people on his side, no matter what the lyrics say, no matter what the beats sound like, the people on his side are always going to vote for him. And I don't think that it worked. I still think I think a lot of people might have jumped ship from him after him being buried, and just in the timeline where we are as far as the songs. I don't think that he was necessarily winning in that, and it just got worse.
Yeah, I didn't really like Taylor Made. I don't know. I just, like I said before, I think my expectations of what's happening, I guess what I'm really wanting to hear and what I'm expecting to hear, I didn't hear on Taylor Made. Now I heard it on Family Matters, but I didn't hear it on Push Ups or Taylor Made. Because those were the ones I was kind of confused. Like, I don't know. It just kind of was like one of my
Well, I'll co-sign that with you, Danny. Taylor Made was one of those tracks that I think that the whole industry fears and that Kendrick obviously despises. And I don't know if there's any truth to this, with, the court order to have Taylor Made pulled because of the infringement on Tupac's voice.
Yeah.
Right.
But AI and rap is one of those things that truly terrifies the industry.
Yeah.
And I know that Kendrick he wants to buck the system. And from what I'm gathering from everything that he's saying and some of the stuff that I'm reading too, that's kind of the issue is Drake represents everything that's wrong with hip hop right now, even though he's on top. But the fact that he's on top makes you think that he's right. And Kendrick just feels like he's absolutely wrong. So that Taylor Made track from that scenario, like even listening to it before it was pulled, I was like, yeah, this is kind of a low blow with AI rap. Yeah, because that was the thing. Like you got AI tracks that have dropped during this scenario that people are like, how did they do this? Oh, he already came with a response. No, that's not real. That's AI. And then you kind of discredit it. And I think that's kind of where we were going. Like, if that Pac track would have got traction, it kind of would have been like the Pac hologram at Coachella. Everybody was like, "Oh, that's so cool. That's dope." But if it didn't get taken down, I think it would have gotten momentum, and then we would start to see way more AI type tracks, and you won't know who's who, and then who owns that, and then we're already looking at artists with not getting credit for streams.
Yeah.
But Drake is on the top end of that, so if it does affect him, it doesn't affect him negatively as much. But other artists, they can't eat from that, and I think that's maybe where Kendrick is trying to go. He's trying to dismantle the machine.
That's valid.
Yeah.
But that's like been his goal. If you listen to like his work, that's kind of been his goal in a lot of his music. Is dismantling. Yeah.
But to go to the point I kind of got away from it, the original point was like him doing the other music with Maroon 5 and Taylor Swift. Like those are things, like those are just checks. Like, and I think that Drake, if we could talk about inauthenticity in Drake's music, I think that's what Drake is saying about Kendrick. That's not your lane. Like, you don't need to do songs with them. And he hints on it in Family Matters. Top Dog is making you do those songs for checks. Like, you just need to get this little check. That's why you're doing those, but that's not what you need to be doing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it did feel like that he was hinting that way, and y'all actually steered right into the question that I was going to ask about the AI part of it, because again, in speaking with Carmen, like as soon as I heard the AI Pac and Snoop, I was like, I'm already losing. The song is already losing credibility with me, because this is not something that he would say.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, if Pac were alive, he would have most definitely been on Kendrick's side. He would have never jumped on the track.
100%.
right.
Yeah.
And so it was. I didn't like that at all. I understood the cleverness of it, and it was clever.
Yeah.
And I actually do like the song outside of that. I thought that what Drake did was clever in his verse, or at least Drake and his writing team. They did a good job on his verse. And he delivered it well. But that being said, like that first part of it, like that threw the song off for me. And at that point, I felt like even in not doing anything, that actually bumped Kendrick up a little bit, because it felt like Drake had to resort to desperate measures.
Trickery.
Yeah.
He got some dirt from the ground and threw it in his eyes.
Right. No, I mean, that's honestly the sentiment I got from the whole thing. It was a low blow. It was unfair, and it kind of derailed things, in my opinion. I'm a Kendrick fan in this regard. I thought Kendrick was already up just because you responded with 2 tracks to a verse, and the other gentleman had already apologized and said, "I'm gonna back out of this one from a verse." Like, that's how impactful I felt that that verse on Like That was. I'm gonna put out 2 whole diss tracks to that, and then to get one taken down, I was like, "Oh yeah, Kendrick's up. Nobody can make me think any different."
And it's funny, man. It's funny that Taylor Swift is involved in. She always gets involved in things, even when she's not doing anything. She's involved.
7 degrees of separation of Taylor.
Yeah.
That's insane, man. But I was reading that the Euphoria track and the Push-Ups track, they jumped to number 2 and 3 on Billboard, behind, of course, Taylor Swift.
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of American white girls that love.
Can't knock out Tay.
No. So I know we're getting further into the time, and there's a bunch of tracks that happens after this, and so everybody's probably seen them, and everybody that's watching this has probably chronicled them. But I want to know from y'all, and I kind of know what y'all are gonna say, but what is the best song out of the entire beef for y'all? Danny, I'm gonna go first. Danny,
so are we including all the ones that you've listed, including like that and first person shooter, or are we talking about
everything?
Everything across the board.
Oh man, I gotta pick one.
The best.
The best?
Yeah.
You don't have to come back to me. I wasn't expecting that. I had about a top 3.
Can I jump out there on this one?
It's not top 3. It's just top.
I know. Let Wiley go.
For me personally, I'm gonna say Euphoria was the best one. Mm-hmm. My opinion with Euphoria, there was enough of lyricism in it. There enough creativity in it. The beat changes, subject matter. I think it was classic Kendrick because it wasn't standard run-of-the-mill popular beats. It was, there was intent behind every beat, and it fit what we know of Kendrick right now. Mm-hmm. And it was. I don't think what he did on that track was expected, and I think that's why it's a standout to me. In terms of right now, what we've gotten, it's still number 1 for me.
Mm-hmm. Steve, what you think?
For me, I agree with a lot of what Wally just said. For me, Euphoria is a very close two. For me, it's Meet the Grams. Meet the Grams. There's a term we call the stank face. Listening to Meet the Grams, that I had that through that whole song, and his delivery for that. I think we've talked about it like off camera, where it was like a father talking to a son.
Yeah.
It's like he was just sitting down on top of this dude, like, let me explain something to you right now. And for me, Meet the Grams, it just gave me that stank face, and it was hard for me. Euphoria is a very, very close second. I like the production on that one. I like what he did with the music and the lyricism behind it. But Meet the Grams really just lyrically. I think actually when Meet the Grams came out, I was actually at lunch. I was at a restaurant or something like that. And I was reading the lyrics before I heard the music. And I got halfway through and then I stopped. And I was like, okay, let me not read anymore and actually listen to it. But reading it, I guess, gave more to it before listening to the music. And that one hit heavy for me. So for me, it's Meet the Grams.
Yeah, it's not a bad pick. Danny, you got one yet?
Yes.
Can't make decisions, huh?
I mean, so I'm gonna go with. No, I got one. I'm gonna go with Euphoria, but it really is a tough decision. But I'm saying it because you're making me pick one. I gotta say, so Not Like Us for me. I won't say it wouldn't be my top one, but I feel like it's just really comical for me. And y'all know I like to laugh. It really is comical for me. And even the beat that he chose kind of goes with that comedic feel. But then also I think it also retaliates not only against Drake, but like against everybody saying, oh, here go Kendrick. We got to go get dictionaries and shit to decipher what he's trying to say. And, we got to look at numbers and symbolism. We want to kick it to something in the club. But he gave you something you could dance to.
Yeah,
like you could legit dance to that. So I really liked the thought process of how he released that one, and outside of it like being like a song that I just I would just like, I like how he did that, and that also kind of makes it even more funny to me, with that song. But no, Euphoria just like, it just took me by surprise. I think I'm one of those, unlike I guess a lot of people, I like looking at symbolism. I do. I like when people use different pictures and images, numbers. I like to see the story that they're creating behind it. And then I also like to see the lyrics that help paint that picture more vividly. And so I'm here for like everything like Kendrick did. I'm here for the glove. I mean, the glove just, oh my gosh. And OJ just died too. I'm like, oh my God. Like, really, Kendrick? No, we weren't ready.
Yeah, no, we had him.
So I'm here for all of that. It's just like, that's what makes it so exciting for me. So that's why it was hard for me to pick one, but I'm going to go with Euphoria.
Understandable.
That's a good pick. So for me, first of all, before I say what my pick is, I will say that I really liked Family Matters. I thought that the video...
Yeah, I did too, though.
I liked what he did with the video, with the van.
Yes.
All the different symbolism that he did in that video was really cool. He even had the Pharrell chain from that particular beef. So he did a lot of different things.
Yeah, see, I wasn't really versed on that until this, but
yeah. So he did a lot of different things, but Euphoria is a 3-act play. This man, he starts off with a Teddy Pendergrass amazing song. and just starts talking real softly to him, and that's already a contradiction of a rap beef. Normally, you see a rap beef, you see people talking aggressively, but him talking in that soft tone lets you know, like, no, I'm really being really deliberate and poignant with the words that I'm going to use to attack you. And by the end of the song, you hear him say, something about pushing P.
Right. Yeah, and the way he pronounces it.
Yes.
And then he talks about, when I see you stand as a sexy red, I believe I see.
No, that's what got me going.
That's the best line of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Right.
But the way that he was able to take you on a ride in that one song, and give you a 3-act play, which goes back to what we were talking about earlier, and his love for the theater, his love for how he expresses himself, but still staying as an artist. Like Euphoria was a masterpiece. And not like us. Like Danny said, like that's a club banger. Like I love that song. Like that's the song that I'll probably play the most.
Yeah.
And then, but to Drake, I will say he has given a good showing of himself, even though he's coming up short. Yeah. I think that he's given a good account of himself. And in my estimation, because the fact that J. Cole backed out, I almost have to put Drake at number 2 because at least he's trying.
Yeah.
but it's no comparison with what Kendrick has done in these last 3. The 616 in LA. Not Like Us. Like he's just Meet the Grams. Meet the Grams was so vicious.
Yeah.
That's why I couldn't vote for it, because it was him just stomping on him. In my opinion,
painful.
Like he already killed him with Euphoria. In my opinion, just personally, just musically. Yeah. But I couldn't say that was the number 1 track, because he was just. I'm just gonna keep hitting you. You can't do nothing about it. And it's just everything he said from him. Like you addressed his mother, his father. You start off with his son, then you start to talk about this alleged daughter, which I have an opinion on that I kind of threw at Davina earlier, and she kind of like side-eyed me and walked off. But I'll get to that in a minute if we circle back around to it. But yeah, that's why I just couldn't say anything about Meet the Grams. I was like with Steve, like I was holding my mouth the whole verse, like, I can't believe he started that. I can't believe he's what he's still. Oh man, no. So
no, I felt the same way. I felt the same way the whole time. I was just like, I can't believe this man is doing this to him.
Yeah.
What can you possibly say back? Like, there's obviously a leak in your organization because you got too many people in it.
Right.
There's obviously a leak because he know way too much about you.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
and there's theories that this leak is fake or made by Drake or whatever. I don't know, but fake and fake, these punches he landed still. They still hurt.
Yeah.
All right, let me go ahead and circle back around to it because Steve kind of threw the oop for me. So when on Meet the Grams, when Kendrick starts talking to the alleged daughter, the 11-year-old daughter, what has come about is the idea that if you find this daughter, if anyone can find this person, I'm gonna stand up and do the right thing. You're gonna be able to rap, whatever. Because Drake is under the assumption like this is just all made up. The mastery of hip hop that Kendrick has with storytelling, to me, and this may not be it, but this is the thing with art, is up for interpretation. So Kendrick is talking to this alleged daughter that Drake possibly has. And he says she's 11 years old. And he's also talking about, the alleged pedophilia. Well, I think that goes to Kendrick's lyricism that yes, there may or may not be another child out there, but he's really talking about Millie Bobby Brown and Drake's connection with her when she was underage, and her character on Stranger Things was named 11. So it wasn't just a straight up, I'm accusing this man of having another kid. I'm going to go at the pedophilia scenario, but I'm going to wrap it up so tight that only lyricists will be able to pick it up. And Drake couldn't even pick it up. And that's how twisted he had him, because Drake said in the beginning, you better come with double and triple entendres and give me all the lyricism. And I think he did it on that track. I think he did it on Euphoria, but I think he did it with that verse so bad that Drake doesn't even know which way is up. If that's indeed true, which is where he was going. I don't know if that's the case, but my mind went to that. I read something and I was like, wait a minute, did he have something? And I went and Googled the Millie Bobby Brown thing and their connection when she was young and what their connection was, and him texting her and calling, and that being deemed inappropriate off the jump.
Yeah.
And I think if there's any truth to that, he killed him with that one. Yeah,
that was.
I didn't know nothing about that.
I heard about that. But that's Kendrick is God, dog.
So that's what I'm saying. I don't know, but if that's true,
right.
Yeah, it was nasty. So how do y'all think this ends? Or is it over now?
Well, supposedly somebody said that Kendrick got more, so.
Of course he does.
Somebody said it ain't over yet.
It ain't over.
I mean, I don't know. There's been, like, we talked, like Wiley mentioned about Pusha T and Drake beef, which was like for a period in time. You know, like it happened, and then I almost actually forgot about it until
I was just about to say that.
Until somebody used Pusha T's face as a meme. They were like, Pusha T's face right now, and it was like him laughing. And so I'm like, oh crap, I totally forgot about that. And then Meek and Drake, I didn't even know, Meek and Drake had beef, but to be fair, Meek and me aren't on solid terms right now because of other stuff. So I didn't even think about that.
Meek getting yammed over there.
Yeah, his yams getting yammed is why we're not on solid terms.
Well, that's what makes BBL Drizzy even funnier, because
I gotta listen to that. I haven't listened to that yet. But what I was gonna say was, I was allowing myself to think about like the comparisons of like the history of rap beef and how like the differences have changed generationally, and and like I'm really excited though about this. Like I like the course that it's going, as long as it stays on the beats. Which I don't feel like is going to go outside of that. But as long as it stays on the music, I'm totally here for it. But I think it's going to come to a certain point where it's going to kind of water out a little bit. Like people are going to be like, okay, we're done. We get it. Whatever. I think to a certain point it might. And I just don't know when. I mean, but I think Kendrick has us in his hands, which is what he wants, because we're so focused on what he's going to do next. I don't think anybody's thinking about what Drake is going to do next. I think we're all thinking about what Kendrick is going to do next.
Well, to that point, I think Kendrick's dropping an album. I mean, he's just got to be, right? Like, you put out these tracks, it's led up to, you haven't put out something in, 3 years at this point? 2 years, 3 years?
Yeah.
So to me, it just seems like, okay, within the next, 6 months or so, he should be dropping something.
Yeah.
I I don't think it's even a situation that Drake comes back from per se. I don't think those are the words that we would use. Like Drake's a machine. Like his comparison to Michael Jackson was valid.
Yeah,
in terms of what he's done for hip hop, for music, just an artist, a pop artist. Like, yeah, it's you're not knocking that machine off. Like he's gonna be who he is. Like, I don't think there's any credibility that is shaken unless, of course, there is a daughter that mysteriously comes up. Then we can revisit this conversation, and I will honestly say that I was wrong. But if that doesn't happen, you're not knocking Drake off. It's just gonna be what it is. I think Kendrick will still be top of hip hop, but I don't see them going back and forth with too many more tracks per se. If they do, cool. But
it's almost like what else can you say at this point?
Yeah, right.
I don't know what else. Hopefully not too much more, but there might be a lot.
If there's that 19-minute track that Kendrick had, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut anybody off.
No,
but if there's a 19-minute track that indeed exists, Kendrick has a lot more to say. If that's the case,
right?
So
19 minutes.
Damn,
that's what they said. Yeah,
I'm gonna have to take that in 5-minute increments.
I'm
sorry. It's not what they said. Daylight actually posted that on, I think, Twitter. That the track that he heard when Euphoria dropped was 19 minutes long, and it wasn't Euphoria.
Oh, God.
I mean, Drake did say, oh, go ahead, Steve.
No, I was saying, I heard the same thing that Euphoria, either it was Euphoria or maybe a different song, but yeah, there is a song out there that is 19 to 20 minutes long, and either it got cut short and what was made was Euphoria, or he put it in his pocket and just started over and made Euphoria. But if that exists, like Danielle said, you don't take a few breaks to listen to that one. You sit down, get some popcorn, put that one on the TV. Something.
We would need to have a listening party for that.
Late 19 minutes. All right, so one last question before we jump off, and I appreciate y'all jumping on here. Next time we meet up, hopefully Danny will have the bonnet situated.
I will not have the bonnet on.
But the last question, so where does this rank for you guys? Like, obviously we've been listening to hip hop for many, many years, and we have, a good Rolodex of rap beefs. Where does this rank for y'all as far as rap beefs are concerned?
I was actually going to ask that question if you didn't ask it.
Me personally, I think this has to go number 2 ahead of Jay-Z and Nas, but under
I agree.
Pac and Big.
I was gonna say the same thing. The Jay-Z, the Takeover, Ether, that's probably still my favorite. And but yeah, close. This is a close second to that one, especially being that this one has gone on for so long. That's the big changing force for me. I would have liked to have heard more from the Jay-Z Nas. I definitely would have heard more from Pac and Big. Big is my favorite artist right now. Well, ever, I'll say. But but definitely a close second to the Jay-Z Nas.
What you think, Danny?
I think for me, my favorite is Tupac and Big. I mean, I was just talking about that. I just listened to Hit 'Em Up the other day, and it still blows me away. I just like, damn, this Negro went crazy on this track. So for me, that's number 1. Jay-Z and Nas, I mean, I'm a Nas fan, but I've never been like a huge, like, vested person in a lot of like the New York rap beef. Only because I've always geared more towards Southern rappers and West Coast rappers. So that's why I don't put that one on my list. But Tupac and Big number 1, and I say this one number 2.
I would have changed mine. I'm sorry. Ice Cube versus NWA.
Oh,
that might be my favorite one. because No Vaseline still goes down as number one of the best diss albums I've ever heard. I got to change mine to that one.
Yeah. I forgot about that one. See, that's a good mention because we all know Cube went stupid.
Yeah, he went hard on. So for me, this Drake versus Kendrick beef, for me, it's number one. I got it number one. And the reason being is because of the material, the amount of content and material that we got out of this. Like, while I think that Tupac's Hit 'Em Up is one of the most vicious songs that I've ever heard in my life, the beef wasn't extended as much. They weren't able to get as much out. Jay-Z and Nas, they went back and forth. They did their thing. Like, their stuff was unbelievably top level, but it's just the volume wasn't what we're getting out of these two greats at this time. Ice Cube went at a whole set of folks and bodied them. That one almost felt like it wasn't even fair. It wasn't even fair because you got the dude that write for y'all. Now he ain't writing for y'all, and then y'all gotta write for yourselves. Like, you're going to lose. But No Vaseline, oh my God, it was so bad. It was so bad what he did to them. And I saw an interview where DLC said he's so happy that he missed that bullet because he wasn't part of that. He should be. And then, another underrated beef was LL Cool J and Cannabis.
I was going to say that too.
The lyricism in that was so high level, and it really showed people, because at that time he changed from being LL Cool J to, when he put that out, he was a different character at that. He wasn't the rapper anymore. He was the person. He was an artist. Kind of similar to R&B Drake. He's an artist that puts out hits, but then he had to remind people, like, no, this is what I do. This is what I do.
This.
Yeah. So keeping in mind all of those, I still have this number one. Just the way that it's able to push Kendrick forward and remind people how great he is, but in turn also show people that Drake is no slouch either. I really like how this spun hip hop forward, and I honestly hope it's over. To be honest, I hope it's over right now, because I feel like they've gone. I mean, they are right on the line. They are habitual line steppers right now. They're right there on the line, and I feel like I don't want it to go any further than it already has, because it's definitely ignited the culture and hip hop and just everything. So I'm happy with where it is. I hope it stops, but I do have it number one. Yeah. So with that, hopefully we don't have to come on here again and talk about this. In like 10 minutes, Kendrick done dropped another song.
Right.
But again, I appreciate y'all jumping on here on a Sunday. But for everybody that's watching, make sure y'all like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Until next time.